Hello and welcome back to Cinematic Universe, everyone. My name is Ernesto Martinez. Joining me, as always, since it's a new DC animated movie, that means Sebastian Ortega is back. How are you, man?
It's really hot, man. It's been really hot.
It was raining here a minute ago, so the humidity levels are rising right now.
I'm in Bonsa, man.
Yeah.
It's dry
So,
heat.
so the Killing Joke has
Yes.
finally been adapted. Not to the big screen, although technically this was released on the big screen before being released on digital, and soon direct DVD and Blu-ray. But the Killing Joke graphic novel by Alan Moore and Brian Bolland has been adapted by the creative team of the ever awesome Bruce Timm and everything he ever created with the Batman animated series, the Superman animated series, and the Justice League series, and the Batman Beyond series, etc.,
And the
etc.
movies.
I'm sorry?
And the movies.
And the
The
movies
animated
as well.
movies.
Yeah. So when they first announced that, I was like, awesome, can't wait. And then they released it's going to be an R rated. Wonderful. And then once they said they're
And
going
then Mark Hamill and everybody else confirmed that they were going to do the voices.
even better. What more could they
Yes.
continue to announce that was going to keep topping and topping and topping and says, oh yeah, and we're also going to do a one night event. I am so there. And I remember when they announced it and they released the dates, I immediately bought my ticket. And, I saw it the other day and let's really jump into it. The Killing Joke is one of, if not one of the most famous Batman stories, if not the most famous Joker story, where the Joker decided to pretty much, as he always does, fuck with the Bat family and pay Barbara Gordon a visit and pretty much shoot her point blank in her apartment while her dad, James Gordon, in the same room and pretty much crippling her for life, unable to walk and attached to a wheelchair eventually. And at the same time, Alan Moore decided to tackle the infamous multiple choice that is the Joker's origin. Because to this day, we still don't know anything about who the Joker was before falling into the vat of acid, what he was doing as a regular average Joe, and stuff like that. And in the graphic novel, they tried to explore a version of the story, full of tragedy, laughter, and murder and blood and everything else that you can pretty much throw in there, plus the kitchen sink. And at the end of the day, it left us with one of the most ambiguous endings to the story where, Joker tells a joke to Batman and they both start laughing, and then it kind of keeps cutting away through the laughter until nobody is laughing and the police arrived. And that ambiguous ending always had people debating, did Batman have his one bad day? Did he actually break the Joker's neck right there before the cops arrived? But we would never know. But now let's talk about the adaptation. You have Kevin Conroy reprising his role as the Batman, and you have God's gift to humanity, which is Mark Hamill, once Luke, forever
Yeah.
Joker. And you also
All
have
right.
Tara Strong reprising her role as Barbara Gordon, aka Batgirl, who not the original voice actress for Barbara Gordon, but she came into the series right after they around the time when they announced the new adventures of Batman, and she's pretty much taken over the Harley Quinn role from the original voice actress since the new adventures of Batman. And she's pretty much been the staple to not just those two characters, but almost every other freaking animated cartoon we've grown up with. So you have
All
this
right.
amazing voice team. Sebastian, the adaptation as a whole, plus the added bonus that we were going to get a Batgirl prequel that was going to tie into the Killing Joke. What did you think of this adaptation?
Okay, first of all, I'm going to start with giving credit where credit is due. The voices were dead on. I love the animation. It was perfect, and I love the fact that they stuck to the original suits. Even the Batgirl high heels, because honestly, now in the newest versions they try to stay away from a lot of feminist or problematic situations, and they just went with it. So I'm glad that they stuck to the original costumes. I'm gonna have to say I love the prequel, the whole Batgirl prequel. I love that the entire story was really good, and I especially enjoyed the relationship with Batman, because this is not the first it's been explored. This is just the first time it's been shown in actual animation. But the truth is that on Batman Beyond, there was also a backstory between Batman and Batgirl, and it was a lot more intense than this one. Now, I will say this though. I don't think it fit. I don't think that this was the time to go with a Batgirl Batman story and then put in the Killing Joke, where you have Batman trying his best not to lose it because you just have somebody you deeply care about getting paralyzed by this monster, and you have somebody else you deeply care about tortured and tormented. And the whole point of the Killing Joke is that ending, that debate whether he really just snapped and killed the Joker right then and there. And it has always been that ambiguous ending. However, they broke that by putting in Batgirl again and putting all with the whole Oracle situation. And I gotta say that there's... Yes, I loved it. Yes, I loved the fact that I saw the Killing Joke out on screen. But I feel like they took away a few chunks of the original intent of the graphic novel, which was to leave those open endings, to keep people guessing, to think that maybe this was the time that Batman really did lose it and just ended it.
Yeah. Let's cut right to the actual adaptation here. The voice acting was superb. Mostly for
no debates.
Yeah, mostly for Mark Hamill. He was having the time of his life. Every word, every syllable, every monosyllable, trilosyllable, quadrilosyllable, whatever kind of syllables are in there, he was having a fun. The moment you see Barbara open the door and you see the Joker with that pure evil of a smile, ready to get down to business and shoots her, he starts talking to Batgirl and comparing her to a book. And that entire description, I was just eating it up. You can tell that Mark Hamill was just having a time of his life. And I'm pretty sure anybody, even the voice director and everything, the casting director, everybody behind the scenes must have been just watching in awe of the master at work.
No, everybody should have been just giddy listening to either Batman or to Mark Hamill talking as the Joker, because those two voice actors, they fit the role so well.
Yeah.
Just so goddamn well. And even though the fact that in the graphic novel they do use a lot more bad words and they let loose with those bad words, I feel like Mark Hamill stayed away from them on purpose, just in the event that it wasn't rated R.
Yeah.
Because there were a few parts where he just goes like, instead of fuck, just says, "I don't give a fig."
Yeah.
And just let you imply it immediately.
Yeah. Because there's one thing the Crown Prince of Crime is a potty mouth. He's always more Shakespearean when he gets down and dirty. I gotta say my favorite part, at least my favorite delivery of Mark Hamill. It wasn't the joke at the end. It wasn't like, as much as I loved him talking about Batgirl like a broken book. The fact when he pulls out the gun towards Batman, and it's the same thing in the book. He pulls out the gun, he tries to shoot Batman, but he has the wrong gun. He's got the dummy gun that pulls out the very famous flag saying bang. His delivery of saying, "God damn it," was funny.
I gotta tell you this. I loved it. And everybody in the theater laughed, I gotta say. But I gotta tell you, my favorite was the monologue about insanity.
Oh, yeah.
The one he gives Gordon right before he puts him in the ride.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, that was perfect.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't miss anything.
All voice
It
acting in this
was
movie was perfect. Let's just leave it at that. They're all perfect.
no, the execution of that was just amazing,
Yeah.
and it really heightens the quality of an animated movie when you have such good actors behind it.
Yeah. And the whole idea of Joker just trying to prove a point that, this is what happens when somebody has their one bad day. And that's all he wanted to prove, that anybody can be corruptible and that anybody can snap and become what he is. And,
Mm-hmm.
it also proves that there are some people that no matter how far they go down the abyss, they can still come out. But, Joker, as he always does, he's always thinking about what can I do today to fuck up the life of Batman? Because that's always what he's thinking about. You've seen it in Endgame, the most recent Batman and Joker story. You've seen it in Death in the Family. You've seen it in Death of the Family when he killed Jason Todd. And you've seen it in many more, arcs. That's his whole obsession, Batman. And how am I going to screw him up? Well, let's see. Jim Gordon's his friend. He's got a daughter. Let's go with that. So that whole idea, I loved it through and through. And granted, let's address it because every time the Killing Joke is ever brought up, somebody has to get pissed off and offended about it. And let's really be honest, this book came out around a time where misogyny was kind of commonplace. Everybody
Yeah,
was aware of it. It was there. Granted, Alan Moore was
yeah.
also making a commentary about it by, in execution, and he's done it in his other work as well. But it just feels like every time it's brought up, somebody is always going to get pissed off, and it gets to the point where I'm just like, we get it. This book was a product of its time. Accept it as it is and move on, because pretty much everybody has moved on. They praise the book for what it was accomplishing, but we can also acknowledge the flaws, especially where it came from, and even worse so, the editor at the time who pretty much told Alan Moore, just cripple the bitch. Fucking really?
I gotta tell you this though. The beautiful. I understand where you're going with this, and I get it. And yeah, certain things are from certain times, and you can criticize them now however much you want, but it still brought up a really big subject in what used to be comic books, because they always stayed away from rape. They always stayed away from those topics, and this is one of the first novels that just leaves it the ambiguous nature of it. Just leaves you guessing. Did Joker really rape Batgirl as well when he was taking the pictures?
Mm-hmm.
Because they never reveal that. They never let you know this. They just have you Harvey saying this was pretty sick, but they never tell you, yeah, Joker raped her or not.
Yeah.
They never tell you if the Joker's dead at the end or not, or did he really just lose his mind or not. They never really tell you these things for certain, and that's what's so beautiful about this award-winning novel. Graphic novel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the story art is just really good. It's just fucking amazing. And I got to tell you, those things were done perfectly.
Yeah.
At least in the movie adaptation, this was perfectly.
Yeah.
And I love the new character of Paris France. I actually enjoyed him a lot.
I like them too.
I think it's a character that should come back at some point, because I gotta say, I love Barbara having her own personal kind of Joker thing going.
Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to him being added to the current comic book continuity in a future storyline. I mean, just for shits and giggles, it happens all the time. So why the hell not? Now,
go on.
Now I want to get into some of my negatives with the movie, and they're gonna be some of the reasons why I won't give this movie as high of a rating as I wanted to, but they have to be addressed. And this is probably going to be the first time that I actually give a low rating to a movie with Bruce Timm's name in it and anything DC animated in general. But let's just throw it out there. Number one, the animation could have been better. And what I mean with that is that when you open the graphic novel, there is a level of detail by Bolland that is particularly unmatched. Every page
Yeah.
turn, it is about as realistic as it gets to an artistic scope of, you know, trying to capture the viciousness, the veracity, the almost grounded feel to every action, reaction, exchange between the characters and what they're saying on the script and how they're being portrayed via the inker and the penciler. And in this movie, unfortunately, they did not bring in their A game. Yes, we can make an argument that because they were, you know, I guess cutting budgets and stuff like that, and the animated movies don't have that extra layer of quality that they should be having. This one just felt really, subpar, and it still has the Bruce Timm animated feel to it, but they really had an opportunity to go for it, to bring out the colorfulness of the graphic novel, the pulpiness, just the insanity of it all in every literal sense. They had that opportunity and they missed it, they didn't do it, and it just felt very bland to look at, and there was just not that, flow that you would want to see. Now, I didn't make too much waves
No,
about
no.
it. You were
I'm
saying?
gonna, I'm gonna interrupt you right there. I'm gonna tell you, I agree, and I want you to think, Kids WB Batman animated series. That's what it felt like at one point when they were doing the flashbacks.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I see that. I see that. I'm just trying to point out that they really should have gone all the way and really
No,
made
no,
this one
they
stand
missed the
out.
window.
They
They
missed
really
that
missed
window,
it
and
by a lot.
it really hurts the product at the end of the day, especially when you have the scene where Gordon is stripped of his clothes and he's being tied down and on the carnival ride, and he is seeing the pictures of Barbara Gordon as she is lying helplessly, with nobody to help her up. She's naked, she's crippled, she's in pain. In the books, that is horrible to watch to anybody who can't handle that level of graphic intensity. Granted, I can, but even I can appreciate the amount of detail it went to deliver that kind of,
Yeah,
storytelling. And in the movie, they just brisked through it really quickly, as if,
yeah, they didn't give it the impact it needed.
exactly. And that's why I have to deduct some points on the animation. And then the last thing that is the not as big as on the animation, but it has to be addressed, and it's the elephant in the room, and it's everything that everybody's been bitching about. Batgirl and Batman have sex. They don't show them having
But
sex. They just
but dude,
go for it.
think of all the to the Batcave jokes that can be done because of this.
I know, but here's the reason why. Okay, I don't hate the idea, but here's my thing. Number one, I bought the tickets to go see this event on a movie screen with popcorn in a crowded theater with Batman fans. And then come Comic Con, because they were going to give a fan screening event, come Comic Con, and god damn it, this is the irony of the situation. You and I have been reviewing these movies for a short while, and every time they're going to be released on digital first, there is a leak, and it goes into streams. And you and I both watch them, and you and I review them. And at the end of the day, I still buy the movie because it's earned my money.
Same here, man. I have them all on DVD.
And I was going to buy this one as well. But come Comic Con, and I saw on the Twitter feed that apparently the movie leaked and there's a controversy around it. Now I didn't look further. Okay, whatever happened, I will see it as soon as the movie comes out, and then I'll judge then. And I was subscribed to YouTube to this channel called Beyond the Tank and Movie Math, held by Grace Randolph.
Mm.
And Grace Randolph was pretty much walking a very thin line with me because she tends to have like these uh, outbursts about things that she agrees and disagrees with, and she sometimes take it to the extreme. And I sometimes respect her opinion, but I disagree with it. And the last time that she almost forced my hand to like remove her from all my social media, was when she revealed the identity of who the female Thor was in the comics. And the book was only a day away from being released. And yet somehow she took it upon herself to write the first thing she wrote on her YouTube video that appeared on my phone says, Jane Foster is the new female Thor. And I hadn't even read the book by that point. And every other site who was running with it, they were saying, spoilers, this is who the new Thor is. And they never revealed the title, but she revealed it right there on the title. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because come Comic-Con weekend, she goes on her Twitter, she uploads a video on YouTube to discuss the controversy of Batman and Batgirl, and she wrote it right there on the video, controversial Batman and Batgirl have sex. And that took me over the edge. I unsubscribed from her. I was really mad because, I had paid money to see this thing. I wasn't going to go to the streaming sites. I was going to pay money to see this movie. And then she takes away the one thing that I was going to at least judge for myself on the spot. So with that surprise out of the way, it just kind of half ruined the experience. Now, let's go to the controversy. Because apparently these days, anything that pisses anybody off is considered controversy, when there are better things to worry about that could be considered controversy. So yes, Batgirl and Batman have sex. And I didn't have that big of a deal with it, all things considered, because I'm going to say this straight. To me, it's always going to be Barbara Gordon and Dick Grayson. Always going to be that. Yes, there are stories with Dick Grayson and Corey, Starfire. I will always cherish those stories, but to me it's always going to be Batgirl, Nightwing, Dick Grayson, Barbara Gordon. And before I even jumped into comics, I was watching Batman the Animated Series, and I was also watching Batman Beyond. And in Batman Beyond, it was addressed that at one point during their adventures, Barbara and Bruce Wayne had a thing. And at least for that adaptation, and the story they were telling, it made sense. That at one point during their adventures, they grew closer to each other. They were adults. It's okay.
Yeah, and they explain the whole reason why Bruce and Dick don't talk to each other in Batman Beyond.
Yeah.
Because she ends up pregnant.
Yeah, and they explore that in the digital comics.
And she has a miscarriage.
Yeah, they explore that in the digital comics just to kind of give context. And what I'm trying to say with all that information is that while I don't exactly have that big of an issue with the idea, it does not belong in this adaptation. I feel they should have done something else entirely to give a story to Batgirl that would tie into the Killing Joke instead of this. This could be, like, hey, have you ever wondered what actually happened between Batman and Batgirl? Well, here's this. Go enjoy it. But at least for this adaptation, it doesn't work. The execution did not flow. And it kind of felt completely disjointed from the main event that is the Killing Joke, especially when you're transitioning from one scene to the other. And considering that the Killing Joke focuses entirely on Batman and James Gordon, with Batgirl being almost a side note when you really think about it, you could have had James Gordon even more of a presence in the prequel story with Batgirl, but you didn't. And adding insult to injury.
I'm going to say this. I'm going to do a little bit of an interruption here and tell you this. It feels like two stories. The Killing Joke feels like there's two stories. There's the first story, and then you just cut, and then you go right into the Killing Joke. Now, I understand the social and political reasons why they're trying to focus more on female characters, because they're trying to empower women, they're trying to deal with the whole feminist situation, and they want to do a little bit more of equality. I get that. I don't have any problems with that. Actually, I'm loving the idea of more female superheroes getting more roles and more movies, because I gotta say, the animated movie of Wonder Woman was spectacular, and it's something that people don't really talk about. But I gotta tell you this: I don't feel like this should have been such a Batgirl heavy movie. She should have definitely just had her own movie away from this, maybe something even more convoluted or more detailed with the whole Paris, France situation, because I gotta say, it's an amazing supervillain for her, and I would love to see more of that. But I gotta tell you, it does not tie into the Killing Joke. I would have actually just been happier with a more detailed and longer The Killing Joke with better animation, even if it was shorter.
Yeah.
But that's just the way I feel about it.
Yeah. And ultimately, really, at the end of the day, all I can say is that while it didn't belong here, even if they wanted to make that story belong with the Killing Joke, it could have been written better. It could have had a better execution, and they could have done more with it than just that one scene between them. And Batgirl, the execution of how Batgirl goes from point A to point B, and so that, again, it could have been handled better. It is not the best thing to come out from. And, I'm saying it because it has to be said. As much as I love Bruce Timm, and as much as I love what Brian Azzarello did for Wonder Woman in the New 52, this is not their best work, and it is a misstep, and I gotta call it like it is. So I'm going to give a rating to this movie overall. As much as I loved the voice acting on the movie, it to me is a 6 out of 10.
I'm gonna give it a little bit more, 7 out of 10. But yeah, I gotta say it's actually I feel like if I would have watched it just after the whole Paris France situation, I feel like I could have given it an 8 or a 9 out of 10.
All right.
That's how I feel about this movie. That's the thing.
All right.
And yeah, because I feel like they just told us 2 short stories instead of just telling us one good one.
All right.
And I think the fans deserve a little bit better than just half-assing 2 stories instead of just focusing on one really good one.
Exactly.
And
that's pretty much the takeaway. It was
is,
half-assed to a really good story.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I gotta say, if you're building it up to an event that you're showing on theaters, if you have Mark Hamill doing the voice of the Joker again, if you're bringing back the most talked about, controversial comic book story or arc or whatever you want to call it from Batman, that is the Killing Joke, with the superb art that it had, you kind of should have given it a little bit more time. And I feel like they rushed it. I mean, they only gave it a year to get it done, right?
I guess, and I think they also wanted it to tie in with the Suicide Squad coming up, and that's going to reintroduce the Joker. So they really wanted everything to just be week after week, nothing but Joker and Suicide Squad. So that's probably it. I don't know what was happening behind the scenes, but man, it could have had another year to work on this thing.
Yeah, and they should have given it a little bit more detail to the art and everything. But it's fine though. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot.
At the end of the day, let's put it this way: the same writers, like Batman and Batgirl's misstep in this movie. Everybody's human, and everybody's going to have that one misstep and everything, and it's not going to tarnish the legacy that at least for Bruce Timm and that Mark Hamill and Kevin Conroy have given us. It's not going to tarnish it in the least. I look forward to more work from these people, but this is just not their best when it should have been. And that's okay, because when you really look at the library of everything they've been involved in, for this to be not the best, it says a lot about how much great they've done in the industry.
They've literally upped the standard, because they've done some really good work for a long time now, and I feel like their best work is always when they do alternative things.
Exactly.
Not when they do things straight out of the comic books. When they try to play a little bit with the lesser knowns of Batman, that's when they best do their job. And the lesser knowns of DC in itself. Because I gotta tell you, I loved Gods and Monsters. I loved it incredibly.
Of course.
And the fact that they're coming out with Justice League Dark now, and Batman being one of the main characters,
and the Judas contract coming on soon.
Yeah, no, and you got Constantine, and you got Deadman, and you got all these really obscure characters coming up. And I gotta tell you, I'm really looking forward to it. Because that's when they do their best work, when they have something that people are not expecting and they deal with it.
Yeah.
For example, they've done a great hit with Damian, which was one of the lesser knowns of the whole Batman world to anybody that does not read the comics. And look at now, people are actually buying Damian shirts out on the street, and it's gotten really popular. So give them something that isn't mainstream, and they will make it so because that is how good their work is. And I feel like whenever they're given a really big challenge, that's when they do their best work. So I'm really looking forward to their next things.
Yeah. Before I close this out, I wanted to bring one thing that I forgot earlier, and you pretty much mentioned it, that they gave Barbara her costume back, and not the one she currently has in the comics. I love that a lot. I love the black and gold. That to me has always been, for the majority of my childhood, her costume, and I love seeing it in animated form. Now, granted, the last time we saw Batgirl in animated form was at the ending of Batman Bad Blood, where they finally reintroduced, or at least for that series, introduced Batgirl into the animated world, and she was wearing her DCU Doc Martens Home Depot costume, which to this day I still hate. Yeah, to this day I still hate. But here's the thing. At least in the context of the animated movie, it makes sense why she has a makeshift costume, because she's just starting out. That makes sense. But at least in the comics,
and it's probably the one that she put herself together.
Yeah, but at least in the comics, it just doesn't fit her character at all. And I picked up her new #1 issue, Batgirl #1, today, and yeah, the costume is still there, but at the very least, the story is engaging a little bit. I mean, it's engaging. It's better than the trash that she has been dealing since issue 35. So the costume, at least now, is a side note and not the real focus. But the point is that I just like the fact that she had her black and gold again in animated form. And that's all we have for you, everybody. As always, my name is Ernesto Martinez. You can follow me on Twitter at MartinezXYZ. You can find me on moviepilot.com and creatorscode.com. And if you're listening to us on YouTube, click that subscribe button, share, and leave a comment. Sebastian, thank you as always. And we will be coming back for Justice League Dark later this fall. Bye-bye, guys.